I felt like the Susan Lucci of CMAs.
Welcome to another episode of Chewing the Fat. I'm your host, Big Rob. Thank you so much for tuning in, downloading the podcast. I certainly do appreciate it. It's the place where we tell beautiful, messy, human stories and give you some tips to help keep the darkness at bay. And I would not be here without my amazing guests. I've had a lot of people that have been friends throughout my lifetime, as we all do. We collect friends and new family members, really, especially when we work places where it's just a small, scrappy crew of folks that are trying to accomplish a task. And that's happened a lot with me in the radio industry. So I'm so happy to connect again with one of my best radio friends. Please welcome me from Chattanooga, Tennessee, Daniel Wyatt. Daniel.
Buddy, it's great to be on. I mean, we have known each other for how many years now?
Well,
it's been 20
years. It's been about 20 years now. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, we first started out, I met you in Birmingham, and I remember the day I met you, and we became fast friends. And in this business, you talked about family, but it's a dysfunctional family is what we have.
Yeah, it's a dysfunctional family, but we're all got the same dysfunction. It
is. We all relate very well to each other, very fragile egos, and at the same time, and a weird sense of humor. And you know, it's one thing when you have a certain, like you said, certain family and certain businesses, and this is really radio is really a small group to me, and you get to know people and keep up with them, and always enjoy seeing what they're doing. It's a very creative group, and I remember that about you, is your creativeness is being around you and your sense of humor. So, and it always rubs off on everybody when you're around you. So, and I don't know if that's in a good way or not. I tried.
It could be a bad influence, I suppose.
I tried to rub it off with Clorox. It won't come off, man. You just stay around.
Well, Daniel, you're in Chattanooga now. You're still in radio. You're up at US 101, right?
Yes, sir.
Doing a morning show there. Daniel and I, like I said, we met in Birmingham working at the 102.5 The Bull on the Patty and Dollar Bill show. I tell you, that was one of the honors of my life to get to work with Bill Lawson and Patty Wheeler doing that show. I swear.
That was one of those things where you won't see that type of show, I don't think, ever come around again, because radio is such a different animal than it is now. And type of personality with Bill, who just retired last May, which is
crazy.
You like to see that in this business, because, you know, there's hope that you can make it through this and keep a job. But I don't know if that's possible anymore because of the way the industry is.
Yeah.
And it was a beautiful thing to see him be able to live his life, become that radio legend, and then be a part of that small journey me and you were with him. You know, I grew up listening to him as a kid, and then I got to work with him, then he was in my wedding, which was even crazier.
Right.
So to get that experience as a young person starting out this, to watch those two work, was, I think, something that college or anything couldn't buy you.
Oh,
really.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I always talk about that. Was kind of one of them lightning in a bottle moments, you know, working there in Birmingham. I learned more about not necessarily the function of radio, but how to do radio as a personality from Bill than probably anybody and I'd already been in the industry for 10, 15 years at that point. And to have the chance to work with him and to just learn kind of at his knee and how he approaches relationships with your listeners.
That's it.
You know what I mean? And not talking down to them, not dumbing things down, but just being as genuine as you can with the people that you're part of their lives every day, you know?
Yeah, it's a perfect thing what you just said. I mean, technically I didn't learn what the right mic volume was or the right bed, but I learned something more valuable, like you said, how he could walk into a room full of doctors and captivate every one of those doctors, or walk into the room with the polar opposite full of NASCAR fans and captivate that audience. Yeah. He knew how to do that with each person, and each one of them, within a 2-minute interaction with him, he could absolutely become their best friend and mean it. And, you know, he would give it a cell phone number all the time to listeners. I'm like, what are you doing? Right. They're going to call you all the time. He goes, oh, they're listeners. He'd just do it. Now I find myself doing the same thing, because I learned how you are a connection to people's lives in this business. You might not think so, because you'll agree with this, Rob, is when you're on that microphone and people come out to you, maybe see you out in public and go, oh, I laugh every time I hear this. And you go, it's nice to hear, because we always talk one way. We talk out into the airwaves, and we can't hear feedback coming back. As a stand-up comedian, you can instantly know if something's going good or bad because of the reaction, and we don't know that. So you sit there and wonder, And to be able to know how much people listen to that and ask you about these things, it's a huge difference in the world. So when you hear somebody talk and watch Bill like a master at it, go in and be able to become part of people's lives where they tell him everything.
Oh, yeah.
I just kind of soaked it in. I just listened and went, okay, let me see how this guy does it and how he's been successful. And I've kind of modeled my career here in Chattanooga is, if you're willing to take the time to listen to me and listen to the goofy things I have to say and still stay around, that, you know what, you are family. You pay my mortgage, you help raise my kids, and you deserve as much attention as I possibly can give you.
Absolutely. So, Daniel, you're not from Chattanooga. You weren't from Birmingham either. Where'd you grow up? Where you were from?
The great God's country, Coleman, Alabama.
Coleman, Alabama. That's right.
About an hour of north of Birmingham. If you're driving to Huntsville, it's the place where you stop and take a pee. I mean, that's what I always tell people, from Birmingham to Huntsville. Yeah. So that's where it's at.
So when you were growing up in Coleman, you said you listened to Bill and radio and stuff growing up. Was that something that you thought, man, like, hey, I want to do that? Do you remember there was a time like, I want to get into radio?
You know, my mother was a big fan of music. Her dad worked for a company called RCA Mac David. They sold washing machines. They sold TVs. They sold everything. He was a salesman, and they sold records. So she got free records as a kid and kept those around. And so I remember we wouldn't watch TV in my house. We'd either listen to the radio, which we would either listen to country, or the big station when I was a kid was Magic 96, which is also in the place where we worked at in Birmingham. It was one of the sister stations. So she'd listen to that. And there was two guys in the morning named Bert and Kurt we'd listen to. And I would call on the weekends. I had a request show, and I would call in and request songs. On the weekend, I was 7, 8, 9, and always loved the music. I never had a musical ear or talent to play it. Couldn't sing, but I loved it. My mother listened to it all the time, and I got interested in it. But I never thought I'd be doing this. If you'd have bet me when I was 12 or 13 that I'd be doing this, I'd been like, no way, ain't gonna happen. And I kind of like we all do in radio. We find a way in, and that's the way I was. I was working at a machine shop my uncle owned in Birmingham, Alabama, when I was 22 or 23. I can't actually remember. It's been a long time ago. And a guy worked there, and his wife was the marketing director at 102.5 The Bull. It was the Clear Channel stations, which is now iHeart at the time. And I said, you got anything? I just want to get free concert tickets and meet girls. That's all I want to do.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
And she goes, yeah, you can set up tents and speakers on the weekend. And I started doing that, and I loved it. Wow. I loved every bit of it. And they said, you want to go full-time doing it? So I quit my job at the machine shop and did it, and really worked my way up from the very bottom. It took me 8 years to get an air shift. And that wasn't even my goal either, Rob. I didn't never want to be on the air. I like doing it, but I didn't think it was a career path for me. And somebody took a chance on me and brought me here to Chattanooga, and I've been here 15 years now and doing the morning show. So I always tell people in radio, I said, the best thing you can do is radio is all about talking, but when you need to start out, listen. Listen to what people are telling you. Listen and be somebody that can, especially now in today's industry, you know this more than anybody, is be able to do more than just one job. Learn the internet, learn social media, learn how to edit, learn how to do some form of problem solving when it comes to engineering. Learn a little bit of everything, and you're more valuable to them, because I don't think it's just our industry. I think every industry is looking for somebody that's jack of all trades, because they're trying to cut costs, quite honestly. It's just the way it is. And I think I've survived so long because I'm willing to clean the toilet bowl still. That makes sense.
I mean, that's because, like you said, that's what you got to do. And because the thing is when I first started in radio, and there was a station full of people. There was somebody in every station's studio. There was somebody in production. There was all the salespeople and the managers and stuff like. And just as time goes on, it dwindles down, and there's fewer people, and there's fewer people, and there's fewer people, and you realize, well, this piece of equipment went out. I've got a remote coming up. I've got to be able to do this, and if I don't do it, I don't know if it's going to happen, and then that's going to impact me. Because one, I enjoy what I do, but also care about what I do. And also, if this doesn't go down, I might not get that talent fee, which means that's going to impact my family. So you just go like, yep, I'm going to figure it out. We're going to get it up and going.
I mean, when we first started, I think in Birmingham, there was 45 people there. I think by the time I left Birmingham, it was down to maybe 20, half. Here in Chattanooga, when I first started in this building, there was a good 35 to 40 salespeople, managers, on air staff. Now there are probably, this has included everybody now, probably maybe 13 of us.
Yeah.
13 for 5 stations. That includes sales and management and an engineer.
Yeah. It's kind of like walking around a ghost town,
I mean, it really is. I mean, me and my morning show partner are the only people here until 10 o'clock in this entire building. There's 5 radio stations.
Yeah. That's wild.
So, but you survive in this business by being able to adapt, by being able, and that's not guaranteed. You can't, because because you can be the best employee in the world. I've seen it happen. You've seen it happen.
Yeah.
And you're just a budget cut, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always tell people, I'm like, I make low enough that my salary don't count, and I don't make high enough where I'm just right in that really sweet spot where I'm barely living.
Right.
I mean, and that's where it's at.
But you're also just under the radar, so that they don't like, well, we need to cut something. Well, Daniel's not really.
Well, Daniel, we can't. Well, what's he going to impact?
Right.
Yeah.
Who's going to clean the toilets if we get rid of Daniel?
Exactly. Who's going to wash the cars?
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, it's all about, I think, in industry is making yourself valuable to somebody. And even then, you're not guaranteed to save. I don't want anybody to think that I'm saying like, oh, I could be, it's, as you know, Rob, this industry, they could tell me tomorrow, like it's done and there's nothing, my ratings are fine. I've done everything. And that's just the way it is because it's become that way.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what happened to me here. After I'd left Birmingham, I came back to Augusta as the marketing director. Also doing air shifts on a couple of our stations. We had a bull station here because, that's what Clear Channel like to do, is name on their stations the same thing. So, but we had a bull station here, and I was doing shifts on that. I was doing marketing for 3 of the 5 stations. So getting prizes, setting up remotes, I was doing all the stuff. And then, one day I think it was in 2009, Clear Channel decided to let 3,500 people go all in one day.
I remember it.
And I was unfortunately one of those people. And that prior weekend, I'd been out all weekend long at, we had an event called Power Fest. I was out in the sun at the fairgrounds, making sure stuff was going on. And then I thought we were going to do a recap, and they were like, all right, thanks. You're done.
And that's terrible. I've seen it happen to most of my friends, and I know that, and I personally know that Daniel has a shelf life. I don't look and I hope I don't, but I feel like, I'm 48 right now, and I know that I'll be very fortunate to retire from this business, but I don't have any, and this sounds so morbid, so hopeless, but I'm making plans that I probably won't.
Right.
Because it's just the way technology works, the way things work. And, you hang on you swim in the deep end as long as you can until you need the life preserver. And, I'm getting somebody I'm already looking for like, okay, let me make sure I have a life preserver over ready for me.
Yeah.
And I think you have to do in any walk of life is have that backup plan sometimes. And and unfortunately, when you go under, it comes out of the blue, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the thing you got to prepare yourself for mentally, is to go, what happens? And I think another thing, Rob, that's helped me out is because in this business, and you will agree with this too, that sometimes that us in this business, this becomes our entire life.
Yeah.
Our whole being is being that person on the air, and that person that's Daniel or whatever your name might be. And you become, and I've done my best to go, that's not all me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I always tell people, I'm like, when I die, on my tombstone, if it says Daniel Wyatt, 2018 CMA award winner, I've done something wrong, because that's not what I want to be.
Right.
That's a great accomplishment. I'm very proud of that, but that's not who Daniel is. And I've seen people go, oh God, what am I going to do? Because I don't have this, and I'm not this person. I'm like, I am fine being Daniel.
Yeah.
And it took a while, honestly, to get there, to be able to process that.
Well, that's the thing about this industry is like sometimes you just get wrapped up in the quote unquote fame of it. It's like, it's famous in a small town, it's that type of stuff where it's like, hey, people know who I am because my face is on the billboard, or they do listen to the show, and they recognize my voice at the grocery store, that type of stuff. And it's intoxicating, but you have to realize that that's not 100% reality. And if you wrap yourself all up in that persona, it's not healthy, because at some point that you're not the one, unfortunately, in control of that persona, and somebody could rip that out from underneath you, and you're either going to have to then move to a different town, try and find a job somewhere else. Because if you want to keep pursuing that's what you got to do in radio. You got to keep moving to keep that going. or you realize that, oh, hey, you know what? I'm not just, Big Rob, the on-air guy. I'm also a dad. I'm also a husband. I'm also someone who has these other passions that define who I am.
Exactly.
Other than just being on the air.
I think that's a lot of, it's not just ours. I mean, it happens in a lot of industries where you become so wrapped up in a job that becomes your being.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you just explained it perfectly. Like there's so much more to everybody out there that they think that they're
mm-hmm.
not, because I've learned one thing is being in this business and then not being in this business, that I still have friends, I still have family.
Yeah.
And I generally, like I said, it's tough. It's tough to be anywhere right now in the world, and because you have everything, it's so different. So, I mean, you have to be really prepared to be happy with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the big thing.
I love that. Now, you mentioned a few moments ago about being a CMA award winner. That's pretty freaking cool, man. How did that come about? How long had you been at the station before y'all got before you got that CMA award, man?
I felt like the Susan Lucci of CMAs. Remember her from the soap operas? Couldn't win a daytime Emmy for 40 years.
Right.
It wasn't that long, but the two guys I was with before I got here had been nominated like 6 or 7 times for CMA. Never won. Everybody on the air staff had a CMA at the station.
Oh, wow.
So they were the only ones without one. So the first year I was here, we got nominated. And I went, oh, this is it. We're going to get it. Didn't get it, which was cool because I got nominated and I never thought I'd do that.
Yeah.
Nominated. I think we were nominated 4 or 5 times before we won.
Mm-hmm.
So every year it was like, oh man. And it's just disappointing. And I remember the year we won, it was 2018. And we were up for CMA Station of the Year and CMA Personality of the Year for the morning show. So what they do is they get an artist to call in the morning and say, hey, you won, blah, 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 blah. And oh, thanks. So we knew at what time they're going to call, between 9:30 and 10 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. So here it is. They're looking at the hotline. It rings. We know exactly what's going on. Mm-hmm. So it's Jason Aldean. He goes, hey, it's Jason Aldean. Is this Ken, Daniel, and Kelly? I'm like, yeah, it's us. He goes, I want to let y'all know y'all won CMA Station of the Year. And we're like, because we thought, well, we didn't win. Mm-hmm. The station did, but we didn't.
Right.
And we're happy.
Well,
but we're down a little bit. Then we're about to let him go, and we go, well, thanks, man. It's great hearing from you. He's like, wait. And also, y'all won CMA, and boom, my world was just blown away, because here's this thing I've been working for, a goal, and no matter what you're doing in life, no matter what the goal is, and when you finally can accomplish that goal after hard work and being let down so many times, it was one of those things. It was like a memory that I will never forget. And actually, we won, and to be honest with you, I have not entered to win again, because the thing is I'm like, we have the afternoon show. I feel like wins one every other year. They're and they love it. And I had nothing wrong with somebody wanting to win every year.
Yeah.
But my goal was to get one.
Yeah.
And then by that point, I'm like, this is a nice trophy. I put it in my house, but I didn't need 5 of them. I just want to win that one. So
that's awesome.
It's hard work, and it's, you compete with a lot of people, but it's cool to every day to look at that. But my wife just says it's something else to dust around. Don't get another one. So maybe that's it. I don't want to get in trouble.
I love that though, man. And I love that for you. I remember seeing like your posts and stuff, and keeping up with the industry news when I saw that that y'all won. I think that's amazing. And US 101 wins all the time for Station of the Year, which is great. It's great to be working around, again, another station of excellence. Yeah.
The really wild one, that, Rob, is CMAs. Once you win one, you become a lifelong member of the CMAs. You never have to pay dues again.
Oh, wow.
But the real reason is if you get canned, they have insurance you can get.
Hey.
CMAs. So.
That's awesome.
That was one of I was like, look, I can get insurance now if I ever lose my job. So you're part of a group. But yeah, it's a funny thing that it happens. But it really is. You're part of a heritage station like this, like you were talking about, and there's a lot to live up to every day of keeping that going. There's a lot of pressure. I'm from Alabama, so I'm an Alabama fan. So it's like you have to go for that national championship every year, and you have to play that game every single day and win. And it's a high pressure job that you have to learn to manage the pressure. Mm-hmm. And when I first got here, that was tough for me to do. It was, God, I didn't think I was going to make it, man.
Yeah.
It was just taxing on me. Yeah. Just terribly taxing on me.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And
mean,
then
because that was the first time. I mean, other than moving from Coleman to Birmingham, that was kind of your first time moving to a
I
different
went, I,
state.
I went to Nashville for a year.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I think that might have been before you got to Birmingham, I
Okay.
believe.
Okay.
And I went for a year, and went to be promotions director at WSIX on Music Row.
Oh, wow.
And I went for a year, and I was 30. I was around 30 at the time. Me and my wife were dating, we weren't married. And I'm glad I went and had the experience,
Mm-hmm.
because I'd have always went, what if I didn't take the job? What would it have been like? But I got there, and it was not in my mind. I'd built it to be this other animal.
Mm.
And that's sometimes you see the grass is greener on the other side. And I say for everybody that if you have the chance and you want to set a goal and will do it, because you'll always look back and go, why didn't I do it?
Yeah.
But be prepared that it might not be exactly what you were thinking, because I got up there and it was a way faster pace than I was going to be. I had literally at that point in my career, I thought I'm quitting radio and getting out. I don't want to do this anymore.
Wow.
It was one of those things where I was completely burnt out,
Mm-hmm.
completely couldn't do it anymore. And I went, if this is the way it's going to go, I don't want any part of this. And I had the fortunate opportunity to come back to Birmingham at that point, and I did. And then I was scared to take the Chattanooga job because I'd already left for Nashville, right, to go.
Mm-hmm.
And I just said, I don't want to do that again. I don't want to move off and be away from my family. And at that point, something told me, goes, if you don't take this opportunity, you'll regret it. And I did. And we've been here. It will be 16 years in November 1st this year.
That's awesome.
So,
and talking about Birmingham, I want to go back to the Bull days. Do you have any like favorite stories or favorite memories from some of them? Because I mean, I've got some stories that I will not share. But I know we did some crazy things and we had some great times, but
I've got a couple that stick out in my mind that just radio people probably love. So we used to have to do these live broadcasts. You remember them every Friday morning out on location, Patty and Dollar Bill. So I was the tech that would go out and set up the equipment, make sure everything was running right. You were back running the board at the station. And we went out and they'd have us everywhere. It could be at a Hardee's. It could be wherever they want us to be at. And we were doing a broadcast. I think it was Brookwood Mall. And we were doing something out there in front of the mall. And we had this big enclosed trailer that would pull behind the truck. We had all the equipment in. I mean, part of the trailer, it was I think it was June or July. It was hot, man. It was real hot. So I was out there at 5:30. And Patty, give you a quick rundown on Patty if you don't know who she is. She is a lifelong person that was on radio in Birmingham. She talked like this, real deep voice, real deep. And smoked. She never stopped smoking.
Never stopped smoking.
Never stopped. She'd be at an outside event, smoke. And we're outside and she's smoking. And I guess one of the tires on the trailer had a knot in it. Something was, and the heat got to it. And that tire blew up like a gunshot. Loudest thing you've ever heard. Me and Dollar Bill ducked because we thought somebody's taking a shot at us. She never broke stride talking, never stopped smoking, kept going, turned around and goes, what the hell did one of y'all do? Just said that. Like we had shot something. Like she never moved.
Right.
Never moved. Like it didn't affect her in any way.
Yeah.
And I thought that was her personality. Like she couldn't be affected. It was just hilarious to me because it was one of those moments where you saw it. The other moment was we were doing a remote, a little 2-hour event at a Verizon place. Do you remember this where I had to get the tire out to help to save off the guy from beating up Bill? Do you remember that one?
Yes.
So we were doing this event at a Verizon store. And we had all the tables set up, the free T-shirts, the CDs, all the stuff you see. And we had a guy that used to come to our remotes and get, he'd come to every remote and get free CDs, free T-shirts, everything, and take them and just take a bunch of them. We got, just one of those people. So we're sitting there and
prize pig. Prize pig. We called them.
Yeah, prize pig. So I'm inside with Patty doing whatever we're doing, and Bill's inside. As we come out, there's a guy starts laying into Dollar Bill, just a guy we never saw, just cussing him like a dog. You told my wife she couldn't get a CD, blah, 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 blah. She's dying of cancer. Look, it was terrible. I thought, what has happened here? We walk outside and this guy's ready to fight Dollar Bill. So meanwhile, I'm going like, I can't let the station lose its best talent here. So I'm in the truck trying to find a weapon of some sort to try to fend off this guy from beating up Dollar Bill. Dollar Bill's trying to talk to this guy and figure out what's going on. We finally unraveled the mystery that while we were inside, the prize pig was outside standing by the table, guarding the stuff, and he wanted a CD. So he was telling people he worked for the radio station, was not letting anybody have anything, and got smart and rude with a listener, the listener's wife, and she went and told her husband. He came back in to beat us all up. And I'm going, that was one of the craziest things I've ever seen in this business. And I'm like going, what am I going to do here? I was a 25-year-old kid, and my job was to make sure these people were at least safe.
Right.
And to figure out what happened. We finally got it worked out, got everybody calmed down. That's a couple of them. And one of my other favorite stories is we worked with Paul Feinbaum. It was our radio station, remember?
Yep.
So I was also in charge, and Paul Feinbaum, most of you know, ESPN now, big star, but he worked at our radio station in the afternoon. So he would go and do events, and I would go out with him to set up the equipment, things like that. And I remember I had to go to Atlanta for a SEC championship game. It was Auburn against Tennessee. And that year he had been really railing on Philip Fulmer on the air. Bad. And so it's at the start of the game, and we all had press passes, and we're walking down the field, and we're in the Georgia Dome, and Paul's got a raincoat on. And I'm like, why has he got a raincoat on and the hood pulled up? We're inside. It doesn't make any sense. So I asked him, I said, hey, Paul, what's the deal? Why I got the raincoat on? He was like, you'll see. As we walked out onto the field, Tennessee fans started to recognize who he was. Immediately, beer and drinks went our way. And the raincoat was there to protect him. And meanwhile, I got soaked as I'm dodging these things coming at me. And I asked him, does that upset you? And he goes, no, for every beer thrown at me means that somebody's listening, and that's money.
Yeah.
So he looked at it that way. But, I had those stories as a young kid in radio to go experience those things and to learn from those things from people that are some of the greats in the business is really invaluable. And again, I always tell people in really any business, instead of talking a lot, listen a lot. Yeah. Listen and hear what other people are doing and see how they've made it and how they're doing it, and then learn from that. And it's very important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, I know you are a twin as well.
Yep.
Matthew. What was, as a twin growing up? And because, he'd be around the station and stuff too. He didn't work for us, but he definitely took advantage of the free tickets his brother could get.
Well, yeah, he was into the free tickets more than I was. And the funny thing is, people thought he worked for us. He went to a concert one time, and the sales guy came up and slapped him real hard, thinking he was me. And he realized that wasn't me. So,
I know.
It was different growing up with a twin. Everybody asked me how that was, and I'm 5 minutes older. So in my mind, he was always 5 years younger, and then to treat him that way. And we never were the same age to me. And even though people will say we look identical, to me, we never looked anything alike. So it was treated like a little brother, and so. And we never, everybody asked the question, like, did you ever swap? We swapped one class. That was it in our entire life. And I knew it was a class he wouldn't fail. I'm like, go to like art class for me so you won't fail it. And I went to PE class for him because we were too scared. Either one of us were too dumb to pass anything smart. So
that's so funny.
It was always the easy class we'd change out. But, it's interesting to have somebody that's the same age as you. And we're pretty polar opposite. He's an introvert, very quiet. Yep. I'm outgoing. Yeah. And my dad always goes, I don't know how two people are so different that were raised at the same time.
Yeah.
So, it's very weird. But again, to me, it was a brother that was 5 years younger. I always drove to school, always did everything, and he just kind of followed along.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, and being a dad now yourself.
Yeah.
2 little girls. What's, how has that changed your life?
I'm 48 and I have, my oldest will be 3 years old in October. And my youngest is just about turned 7 months, and I'm 48. So it's a little different. To be, it's something that me and my wife never thought would happen for us. Right. It's not like I planned on having a kid at 46 years old, 47, 45 when our first came along. We just thought it was out of the cards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we tried for so long and went to doctors, and they would go, we can't give you a reason why you can't. And which is weird usually. And that's disappointing because if you know the problem, you can fix it. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
They couldn't. So that was even more disappointing. Like, well, what do we do? So 10 years go by, and we go by that 10 years. And I was so confident that we were not having kids that at 43 or 44, I went, okay, we're not having kids. I'm going to go out and buy the car I always want. My insurance is cheap. I went out and bought a brand new 28 Mustang GT Performance Pack Level 2.
Wow.
fastest car I ever owned.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful, loved it. It was my dream car.
Mm-hmm.
I had it for 2 years. Then my wife got pregnant, so it was gone. I had it for 2.
We get traded in for a minivan.
Trust me, I tried to fit a baby seat in that thing every way possible, bro. Every way. Wasn't happening. So, but I would gladly trade every car I've ever owned for the privilege and the honor of being a father. It's just it's changed my life in ways that I knew it would. And I look back on it and I I would have been a good dad at 34, 35. I would have been a good father.
Mm-hmm.
Would I have been a great father? I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I think I think God has the perfect timing when you were off before we got on the call here.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it, and it really does. I think if don't get me wrong, I'd have been a good dad. I would have been loved my kids, but I don't think I would have been the same dad.
Oh yeah.
And I think I'm a better one now. And there was a lot of faith in God with going through it. Let me tell you a quick story how much faith it was in God. That we went one time to a fertility doctor, and they said, we can give you this and try it. And something in my mind, I went, I don't know if we should do that. And it was, when I look back, it's God going, hey, just wait, I got this. Mm-hmm. And it might not work out for everybody. I'm not saying everybody this is right for everybody. This is not Daniel going like, pray about it, because sometimes we pray for things and God don't answer those prayers the way we want him to. It's for him, the way he answers them, the way it's fit to his will. So we go, we wait 5 more years. My wife gets pregnant, everything. And it's right during COVID, by the way. I went, oh, Lord, here we go. Right during COVID, my wife's pregnant. Couldn't be a more scary time of 2020 to be through this. So we're careful doing everything we do. We get to the hospital, and they're going to have to induce labor in my wife. Yeah. So we get in. They give her the shot to induce labor. An hour goes by, hour and a half. All of a sudden, my wife starts getting sick, starts throwing up, starts just. And so the nurses come in, one comes in, and then 2 more nurses come in, 3 more, 4, 5 nurses come in. I went, something's wrong. Mm-hmm. Something's wrong here. There shouldn't be this many nurses in here. And they're taking my wife and they're putting her in these positions that I've never seen. Like, why are they doing this to a pregnant lady that's about to give birth? This doesn't look good.
Right.
I hear one of the nurses call the doctor and go, the baby's in distress, so you've got to go. They wheel him out the room, and I don't see him. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if Brittany's all right. I don't know if baby's okay. Mm-hmm. I mean, emotional about it, but we're during COVID, so I'm the only person in the hospital. I'm by myself. There's nobody there but me, and it's 12 o'clock at night. Yeah. So I can't even call anybody that's up to say, hey, to talk me through this. So they come back in. The doctor goes, your wife had a hard contraction. It crimped the baby's umbilical cord. The baby lost oxygen. We're going to have to do an emergency C-section. We've got her in the prep room right now. You got to come with us. So I go in this hallway. And I remember sitting in this hallway with all the, the gear on, get ready to go in. And I'm shaking uncontrollably. And I don't know if it's because I'm nervous, if it's cold. I can't remember. I'm just shaking uncontrollably. Yeah. And not knowing what's going on. And I'm sitting there and I just pray. It's like, God, just let her be all right. Just whatever you do, I'll just please. And about that time, her doctor walked down the hall and goes, got the tractor control. Everything's fine. You're going to be a dad in about 10 minutes. Are you ready? And I walked in. And miraculously everything, but that was the point, was to the end, God was like, you've got to trust me all the way through this process, even till the write up. And that's what I did. I went, it's out of my hands. And at some point my wife went, this is out of my hands. I got to let you deal with this. And if this is whatever happens, this is what's supposed to happen. But that was all the way up to the birth. It wasn't. Now my second daughter, much easier. I was like, let's go in, get this over with, schedule the C-section. I'm not going through that stuff again.
Right.
But it's a thing in life where we're not, every time we have something planned out, it even though I thought was going to go away a certain way, went another certain way. So you have to be able to mentally be prepared for things that aren't going your way sometime. And that's the big thing, is you've got to have a mental stronghold to go. My dad always said, have a plan B. In your mind, you got to have a plan B. Yeah. What's the plan B? Where's my safety net? And for me, it's spiritual with God. That's my safety net all the time. Yeah, so
I love that. Daniel, what's bringing you joy right now, man?
We just talked about kids, they have become my life as far as how I do things, how I manage my mental health. As we talk about, mental health is in this business that we do, your mental health can be really tough, because I always tell people, when you do a job that works for the public, no matter if it's radio, whether it's working with customers, whatever it is, you've got to leave your house. And you could leave your house, like this morning I left my house and the coffee machine broke, the water, everything could possibly go wrong that went wrong. But when I got to work and the microphone came on, I have to flip that switch to, hey, it's good to be here.
Yep.
And that can mentally tax you. It's a roller coaster.
Yeah.
It really is a roller coaster. You're high, you're low, you're high, you're low.
Mm-hmm.
And it really messes with you. It's tough to manage that sometimes. And I don't have good days. I have bad days. I have more good days than I do bad. Mm-hmm. And it's because I really try to focus on the important things in life, my kids, about how, when I get home, what kind of person do I want to be for them? Yeah. And the big thing I've noticed, Rob, is my daughter, my oldest, likes to watch movies, Disney movies and stuff like that. She has a little tablet she gets on. But I've noticed it was making her more aggressive, more out of control. Mm. So we put her like on this digital detox, where she only gets a certain thing. Mm. Well, in turn, we all had to go on that because we're in the same household. Right. So we all have to do that. And I noticed over the last couple of weeks that without looking at doom and gloom, because that's what you mostly see is that's what sells, doom and gloom. Yep. And that can affect you. So I stayed away from it. I play with the kids. I'll put on some music. We'll play Elsa and Anna. Mm-hmm. And the joy of seeing my daughter look at things and figure out things different than I never thought about, and hearing that. And I know that a lot of parents out there have gotten this already and probably still do too. Your kids are, they're grown and stuff, and you still get that enjoyment out of them. But that brings me joy. I think little things. I'm a simple person, man. I mean, it don't take much for me to get. I go to the gym every day, and that's a joy for me, because it's a great mental release just to get in there, put on headphones, work out a little bit, and it kind of relieves stress, feels a little better. But it's the little things in life. Like I said, I'm simple. I'm from Coleman, Alabama. Lord, I can look at a chicken for 3 hours and be like, hey, it's a chicken. I mean, I've done that. So, I think everybody has different definitions of joy and how they find that joy. The key is to find what makes you happy, mm-hmm. and then stick with it. And some things that make you happy are hard to do. And what I mean by that is working out. It's not very fun for me some days, but I know if I don't do that, then I'm going to be down a little bit. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's hard for me to get home and play with my kids because I'm tired. I get up at 3:30 in the morning and I don't want to. Mm-hmm. But then at the end of the night, I'm like, I'm glad I did it. So sometimes having joy means you got to put a little work in to get the joy, right? You got to find those things to make you joy. Joy just don't come and fall out of a rainbow and a pot of gold on you sometimes. Yeah. You've got to really look for those things in life that make you joy. And that might be something that takes a little effort to get that joy. But once you find it, then you want to keep it. And then the act of going for it is a process of also getting the joy. So I think we get a misconception in society, like we see so many movies of, there's the Hallmark movie, and someday there's going to be somebody walk into my life and boom, it's going to be joy. And what we've learned through life is anything that's obtainable that makes us happy is a little work, whether it be a goal, whether it be getting in shape, whether it be having kids, because as well as I do, being a parent is a tough business. Absolutely. It's a tough one, but the reward and the joy you get out of it is way more advantage than it ever was putting the work in. So it takes work to do all things that require joy. And I think work in itself of getting that joy is joy, because you're producing and see an outcome. And when we sit still for a long time expecting things to come at us, then we become in the space where we just sit there and dwell of why things not happening, why it's not happening for me, why it's not happening for me. And sometimes it takes getting out of that box. We all like our comfort zone, the lazy boy at home, but nobody ever accomplished anything great sitting in a lazy boy. You have to get out of that lazy boy and get out of your comfort zone sometimes to make things happen and really fulfill some of those things you want to do and find your joy. And it's tough. It's tough nowadays more than it's ever been because of social media, because of everything that hits that. We can be 24/7 connected. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes you just got to be unconnected.
Daniel, this is the second segment of the show. This is where we talk more about your mental health journey. Okay. I know we touched on it a little bit in the last segment there, but for you, how do you keep the darkness at bay?
Spiritually.
Yeah.
I mean, I have really, I grew up as my dad was a Baptist preacher, so I was always front row kid, right? In the front, hey, here I am. But the one thing is that there's advantage to that, and there's disadvantage to that. When I say that, it's because he was my dad. He wasn't the preacher. His dad. I'd tune him out. He's just like, hey, that's Gene up there preaching. I ain't got to listen to him. I hear him all day at home. So you get some osmosis set in. But I really, since my kids were born, I've always been at church. But when my kids were born, I started going, okay, how my goal in life for my kids and how I stave off the darkness is always been that not to give my kids, of course, I want them to have great things. Of course I do. I want them to have nice clothes, but my goal is not to have that for them. My goal is they're going to be provided with is not something better than I had, is to have upbringing where they're kind, considerate people that knows about Jesus, that loves him and understands the real importance of life is love for human beings and service to one another. And that's my real goal as a parent, is try to raise them right. And it's a tough journey, but how I keep darkness as I constantly I read the Bible. I look at it and go, hey, because it applies to your life so well that spiritually I go, and there's down days. And the Bible has a lot of down days in it too. I mean, Jesus had down days. So it's like, hey, you become a Christian, it's an easy road for you. That's not at all what it is. It's probably going to be a tough road. Right. But again, it's that, if we talked about earlier, second about working and finding the joy. And I think as you work at something spiritually, I keep in prayer. I look to God for a lot of answers. And sometimes I don't like those answers. And I got to accept that, hey, that I'll see in the future what that's going to come to fruition of why that didn't happen for me. And I think you've got to keep priorities straight wherever that might be in your life. As we talk about finding joy, then the world is constantly coming at you to be down. Look at social media. When we first got on Facebook, it was people posting pictures of food and pancakes, right? Yeah, it was fun stuff like that and memes. Now it's people going at each other about political stuff that you don't even know the people. You don't know who they are, but they're coming at them with so much hate. And I'm like, this is not the way to solve things. And you can get wrapped up in this world of darkness really quickly and get down a rabbit hole of things are terrible. But look at still the life that most of us live. We're in a country where we can have these disagreements, even though they're not healthy. We have a country where you are free to move about state to state. If you want to get up in your car today and go to the beach, you ain't got to have some kind of paperwork to get you down there. You can just drive on down there and get in the water. Yep. I mean, most countries, if you go from, you don't have that opportunity. And you're, in Russia, Europe, you just can't leave from place to place and jump across, basically different worlds. Yeah. But so I think getting rid of the darkness is going to depend how you attack it each day, because it's always trying to get in. Unfortunately, we're built fragilely to want to dwell in it sometimes, to really as human beings to go, because there's something about it, and you know it too. Sometimes it's comforting to be in a dark place, and it's weird. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like hey, this is okay. Until you find
it's easy.
It is.
It's easy to, like you said earlier, it's easy to not do nothing. Just sit in the lazy boy and just be in the darkness and just stew and dwell.
Yeah. And we've all done it. I've done it. I've sat there for years before and went, we're talking about with the infertility with my wife. I'd look at other people. Like my brother had a kid, and I would look at him and go like, he ain't fit to be a kid. Why'd he get a kid and I didn't get a kid? I mean, he wasn't fit to be a father. Why does he have a kid and I don't have one? Right. I'd look at that woe is me. Like I'd see other people that I kind of knew and be like, well, I'd be a better parent than that. Why don't I have a child? And I would get really mad. I get mad at God. I'll be honest with you. I get mad at him and be like, hey man, what's the deal here? Yeah. And sometimes it's okay to be mad at him because you ain't gonna hide it from him. He knows. Right. He knows you're mad. He ain't like you hiding. Right. I mean, like you can go in your closet and hide from him and be like, well, I'm mad at you. He knew. And I would tell him, like, I'd be mad. And Rob, it really, there was a dark place in my probably 36, 37, 38, 2 or 3 years where I just fell into this thing. It was like, no, I drank too much. I was wasting my life away on things that I thought I should have. And I didn't have, and I was mad at people that did have them, and I didn't know how to process that. And I kind of, and for some weird reason, when I can't get out of this on my own, and I prayed about it, and then kind of let God take over and quit worrying about it and go, this is out of my control. And then 10 years later, we have kids.
Right.
So, and I'm not saying it's for everybody. That's going to work for everybody if you're dealing with infertility, or it might be that God's going to answer that prayer. But I think eventually, if you trust in him, that he will show you why that didn't happen. You'll go, oh, that's the reason why. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why it didn't happen. So I think there's a number of ways that you have to get out of your slump. And one of them is going to take, like we talked about, a little effort to do it on your own. But it's still hard, man. It still comes at me every day where today when I'm going to the grocery store and I'm buying $180 worth of groceries and it fills up 2 bags.
Right. Yeah.
And you go, how am I going to make it? How am I going to make it? And I go, wait, I've made it this far. It's about not giving up on yourself, not giving up on life, because life is a beautiful thing and the world wants you to make, sometimes it's not. So you got to get out of that. It's tough for anybody. It's tough. But if you have a strong will and you got to get it and go, you know what? My dad's favorite saying in my entire life was, he would always say, I ain't gonna let anything beat me. And what he meant by that was, if there was a car to be fixed, he was smarter than that car. He goes, I'm smarter than this car. I can turn it off and turn it on. I can push it off a cliff. It has no mind. He goes, I'm not gonna let it beat me. If it was anything my dad had a challenge from, he goes, I'm not gonna let it beat me. And I thought it was crazy when I was a kid. As I look back, I was like, man, that's a beautiful thing, because my dad wouldn't let anything get him down. He just kept striving. And to this day, he's 81 and he's still ain't gonna let it beat me. And he's still going. So, I mean, it's one of those things you have to take that aspect in life. Don't let it beat you.
All right, Daniel, this is the third segment of the show. It's time now for the Fast Five. The Fast Five. It's time now for the Fast Five. Fast Five. Sorry, I'm still working on a theme song for that segment.
I love it. I think that should be everything. I want to borrow it.
The Fast Five is powered by Poddex. It's an app created by my friend Travis Brown. If you go to chewingthefatbr.com/Poddex, it'll take you where you can download it for your phone. It's made for podcasters, but it's great interview questions, things like that. So definitely check that out. But it's 5 questions. First thing come to the top of your mind. No wrong answers. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Question number 1. If you could go on an adventure tomorrow, what adventure would you choose?
Ooh, man, that's a good one. I would go to Key West.
Key West, okay.
I've always wanted to go. I planned a trip 5 years ago. We never went. And Key West is one of those things that my dad went as a child and drove across the, 20-something mile bridge. And I always told stories about it. And there's something romantic to me about Key West that I would always love just to go see it. And one of those things like the Grand Canyon, that's where I would go immediately.
That's awesome. I love that. I love that. And question number 2. Best Morgan Freeman movie of all time.
Oh, man. Shawshank Redemption.
Yes. Oh, God, I love that movie. That's like my favorite movie. I love that movie. That's a great
one. I was going to say that, Driving Miss Daisy. I love that one, too. That's a top one.
That is another great movie. That is another great movie. All right. Question number 3. You kind of alluded to this earlier in the first segment, but what did your 15-year-old self imagine you'd be doing right now?
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, I believed I'd be changing. No, I didn't say I'd be changing at all. I didn't think I was qualified for that. I just give too much credit to myself. I really didn't. I mean, at a 15-year-old self, I had the hopes of being a cartoonist.
Really?
To be honest with you. I thought that I was going to be as being like an animator. And then I realized that you have to have talent for that.
You have to be able to draw.
Yeah, they just don't like stick figures there in the Disney movies. But yeah, that was my dream as a kid, was all the way up until probably my 16-year-old self went like, I can't do it. But that was where I thought I'd be. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. All right. Question number 4. What embarrasses you instantly?
Ooh. Letting one rip in public.
Really?
Yeah.
Like it just slipped out. You didn't realize.
Oh, yeah. Then I'll do this number like I did it with my mouth.
Like, oh,
that was me playing the horn.
That was I swear it came from
I had
your mouth.
backstory. I had a terrible incident of that in fourth grade in front of Carrie Gobble, who was the cutest girl in fourth grade. I let one slide off my desk. It was one of those little wooden desks, right?
Oh,
that
no.
It wasn't nailed down, so it rattled. It sounded like an airplane taking off, and it traumatized me.
Oh, my gosh.
And then Johnny Peak was sitting beside me. Thought it was funny. So we pointed that out. I was like, "Shut up, Johnny." So
that's hilarious.
That's probably where it stems from. To be honest with
you. All right, and question number 5. If humans came with a warning label, what would yours say?
Talks too much.
Talks too much.
My wife gets on to me all the time in the grocery store. I'll track a conversation with the person behind me, and I'm there for 25 minutes. And I'll be like, or I'd say, "Don't talk to me," something like that. My wife's like, "You talk to anybody," and I'm like, "Well, it's kind of my job." But she was like, "You were like that since I've been dating you."
Yeah.
So yeah, I like to talk, but I like the experience of meeting people and talking to people and learning about them and connecting with people. And so yeah, mine would be talks too much.
Yeah,
or rips them in public. One of the two.
Like getting one of those signs like off a dump truck. Stay 100 feet back.
Exactly. Loose gravel. Oh, man.
I love it. I love it. Daniel, that is our Fast Five, and that's the show, man. Thank you so much for being here, buddy.
Thanks, buddy.
I love you so much, and I'm so glad we could reconnect. If folks want to keep up with you and what you got going on, or your station and your morning show and all that stuff, what's the best way they can do that?
US101country.com. We have a page there, Ken and Daniel. You can find me on Instagram. It's Quiet Wyatt 101. So it's Quiet, WYATT 101. I'm on there. That's where I do most of my stuff. Instagram, Facebook, kind of, sort of. But, I'm more of an Instagram person because it's like, I'm an image guy, So I don't like typing stuff, Rob. That's too much typing on that Facebook thing, man.
I hear you. That's awesome. Well, I will put those links in the show notes. Again, Daniel, it's like we picked up where we left off. It doesn't feel like
you have one of my favorite stories in radio of my entire life, though. You're part of one of the best. Do you remember it? Can I tell it?
Go ahead. Yeah,
I'll make it quick. We were doing hurricane coverage because there was a hurricane coming up. Do you remember now?
Talking about Jay
and
the steak?
Yeah, it is the best. It's so good. So had this it's been a long day during hurricane coverage, and that Outback had brought in some free food, and poor Rob been on there. I don't know how long. It was hours he'd been on the air. Well, yeah,
because I'd been there since the morning show. So I've been there like 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning.
And they had brought the steak in, and he had gotten a plate and put it in there, and a guy working named Jay came in and ate that steak, and Rob let loose on him like I have never seen somebody let loose on him, and I cracked up because I just saw it was like somebody in the grass was Rob's dream right there. He had it. Right. It was there. It was like winning almost gold at the Olympics, and somebody comes in and cheats you and snatches you right away, and all that frustration is unloosed. And I laughed to this day. I will never forget that moment because it was one of the most real things I'd ever seen in my life. And generally, I was shocked. And then I felt pain and horror and sadness for Rob that he didn't get his steak.
Yeah. It was not my best moment.
No, but it was because it just shows the human emotion about Outback. Everybody likes it.
Awesome.
That should be the sponsor of your podcast is Outback because, hey, it's worth yelling over.
Exactly. Well, Daniel, again, thank you so much for being here, man. This was awesome. I love you. I wish you nothing but success in everything that you got going on, and I will keep up with you, and hopefully we'll talk again a little bit sooner than 20 years later.
Oh, man, I appreciate you having me on. I love talking to you. I hope that what we talked about can help some people out there to, like I said, as my dad said, don't let it beat you. Don't give up. People you might not even know about love you more than you know if you're out there. So just keep going.
Man, I appreciate you. And if you would like to help support this podcast, I'd appreciate it if you bought me a coffee at chewingthefatbr.com. But until next time, I look forward to the chance we have to sit a spell and chew the fat.